Political Soul Food was good. We back for another round. Tonight we're talking about reparations. Do we really want reparations? Do we really need reparations? These are the questions on the table. I'm gonna drop my peace of mind. Feel free to share yours. Also, I'm gonna lay out what other people are saying, especially some of the Democratic presidential candidates for the 2020 election. See what they got to say on this issue here, because it's becoming a major platform, as it should be. And let's see what we got to say about this. All right. So get ready to rumble. We're talking about reparations. Ooh, the elephant in the room. Right back after this break, y'all. Let's get down. All right, reparations. Reparations. This is a serious topic. It's a tough one. Been thinking about this, and there's more thinking to be done on this issue. And so I just figured I'd jump into it because political soulful gotta engage the pressing issues in our political arena in the United States. So, do we really want reparations? Do we really need reparations? These are the questions on the table. Now, some people might feel this question is silly because, duh, people should want reparations. Well, I guess we should want reparations, but we need to talk about why we feel that we want reparations. And tell you the truth, what you think. If you think reparations is what is good for this country, for African Americans to move forward, for this country to overcome the economic and political inequalities, let me know what you think here. I'm curious. I wanna get some feedback on this issue. So please feel free to chime in here. My boy Mike is up in the house on IG. What's good, bro? So Mike put it won't solve what happened and what's still set out to happen. All right, so Mike set it off. He already set it off. So let's get some feedback. I mean, I have a bit to say about this issue before I really just say one way or another. I definitely want to take a look at what's going on right now in the political arena. So a lot of Democratic candidates are being pressed on this question, and they're being asked like, "Yo, are you going to push for reparations, or what are your thoughts about reparations?" And so far, I think the candidates right now who are nodding to reparations being a good thing are Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Julian Castro, right? I think our boy Bernie Sanders gave a thumbs down, or maybe leaving that door open in a sense. So, you know, is this issue going to make or break a Democratic candidate? If they don't say, yo, I'm all for reparations, does that necessarily mean that they are overlooking racism in this country? They're overlooking the hurdles that African Americans have to endure, put in place by systemic and structural racism? Does it mean that? Depends on who you are, I guess. So it's a rallying cry right now for a lot of people especially those I would say who feel that the Democratic Party is, overlooking the black vote, the most committed constituency. And I have my thoughts on that. I think it's a complicated relationship, but it's more good than bad. But sticking to reparations right now, it's a question that is being tossed at the candidates, and a lot of people are using this question as their sort of litmus test to decide whether or not a candidate should be supported. And so before this gets too far, I want to jump in on this. One of my boys already, put in reparations as a topic. So here it is. Topic is on the table right now, and it's worth talking about because it gets to the heart of, I think, much of what is wrong in this country anyway. And it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a major question for the candidates on the left. So, not everybody on the left is feeling reparations, right? In The Hill, there's a piece that came out in The Hill, a couple of days ago, reminding us that some top Dems are not really supporting reparations. Let me clarify that. They're not endorsing it as, let's say, a platform. And so one person is House Majority Whip James Clyburn, Democrat out of South Carolina. And let me read a little bit from The Hill here so you can hear what's being reported. House Majority Whip James Clyburn said that he takes issue with using reparations to lessen racial inequality, as 2020 candidates have come out in favor of the idea. All right. Clyburn, the highest-ranking African-American congressman, told the newspaper that he thinks, quote, pure reparations would be impossible to implement, end quote. So, now here it is. We have, an African-American who's also a Democrat saying, listen, I'm not sure reparations is the way to go. Does this mean he's a sellout? What do you think? It seems obviously his heart is in the right place. He wants better. He wants to address racial inequality. But he's saying, hey, the reason why he's not pushing for it, one, is because of the practical matters. That for him, it seems, what even stall the kind of progress that can be made right now without trying to implement this huge, robust, omnibus kind of bill or approach, to maneuvering funds for African Americans. In other words, trying to set up reparations for him would be a huge project that takes a long time. I mean, obviously it will take a long time. It's going to take a huge amount of time. And who gets to be a part of this, committee to develop reparations, and what would be the criteria for deciding what should be given? And once, let's say, this whole thing gets executed, does it mean we don't address racism anymore? So he wants us to be careful about that. He doesn't want to use it. And what's interesting? Some conservatives are starting to jump on his idea, saying, yeah, let's talk a little bit about racism or reparations. And what Clyburn is saying, no, because a lot of people want to set up a certain kind of system where reparations will look like an investment from, let's say, private corporations or initiatives in aggrieved communities that consist of people who are due reparations. And it's like, no, you're just like invested in businesses, and we know how these sort of pseudo philanthropic I hope I'm saying the word right, organizations go. So the resources the money don't necessarily get to the people that need them. So he's like, listen, y'all, let's be careful about how we are setting up or opening the door for a lot of mischief with this reparations thing. So there's a whole lot about that. You can get into that on your own. But there's some concern. Now, the people who are pushing for reparations, And I know a lot of people who are using this as a rallying cry, saying, "Yeah, I only want a candidate that's going to put out that money." And it seems like in that case, money is going to solve the issue. And I spoke to some people who said, "Well, you know what? Just give me money," and they gave a number. I forgot what the number was. It was a very low number, a number that wasn't really thought out. And I did the math. Um, trying to find the population of African Americans, and I divided that number by the money and stuff like that. So it came out to be about $20,000 per African American. So, let me ask you all this question: do you think $20,000 for every African American as reparations will be enough to resolve the issue? Like, what if that was a proposal? Every African American right now gets $20,000. Would that be good for you? What if we said every African American right this minute gets $50,000? And I guess it gets complicated because, like, which age group, right? Or do we do it by families? A family of four gets a certain amount of money, or just every able body gets $50,000. Like, is that how we're gonna do it? So if you have a child, you get $50,000. Um, what happens if you have a child later afterwards? If you have other kids, like, is there a marker? So the money route is gonna be tricky, because what about, like, the future people who are being born after a certain date? How does that happen? So is it like money for every African American in perpetuity? Like, mix up these words. Perpetuity. So it's something to think about. It's just like tricky with that, right? Some people say, well, it should be structured along opportunities, right? Sort of like affirmative action. Okay. And in fact, in many ways, the argument on that case is more or less affirmative action. So there's a lot to think about. We would need a think tank, right? And who gets to be the think tank? Congress or an independent black organization? Which one? My boy G.D. Stokes is already giving out some answers here. He says white privilege is prevalent, so why not give reparations to black? I feel you. And he says money can never pay 400 years of slavery and being considered two-thirds of a man. You can't equate with 400 years of racial discrimination and inequality. So, I mean, those are some fair points. So, first of all, in a sense, white privilege provides a sort of trust fund for whites, right? In a way that it opens up doors for them, and in fact, even cripple the competition to provide whites an advantage. And we can see that in so many ways, in the way that our youth are treated when they're in school. Black kids are treated as criminals, whereas young white kids are treated as misbehaving children who need to go take a seat in the counselor's office, get a couple of lollipops, and watch SpongeBob and let them get themselves together. Okay? Just to relax. And we know how that fallout works. So basically, it's a skewed system. And in that way, we can see, I think, according to what G.D. Stokes is saying, white privilege is, in a sense, like I said, a trust fund. Now, so yes, on that note, G.D. Stokes, I agree that, that's a very good ground for reparations. But how does it look? One person acknowledged, hey, listen, give us some cash money. Another person is saying, well, no, give us some institution, or give us free education, or give us some land. So obviously we got to come to terms. How long that's going to take, who knows? And I'm not saying still reparations is not something we don't think about, but these are things we have to think about. Some people are coming around. David Brooks, the moderate conservative Republican dude, he's saying, "Oh, I think I see the need for reparations now." After reading Ta-Nehisi Coates' piece on the case for the reparations, at first he was like, "No, get out of here. How are you going to come up with, you know, who the recipients are and how much and all that stuff?" And but he's doing that in a sense to problematize the matter, and I'm doing it in a similar way, but I'm doing it in earnest to get us to think about how we are going to create this policy or agenda, and it's an agenda that we should be hands-on with, right? I would suppose. We got a comment here on IG from Miss Walker writes, "Give us a menu to choose from." Okay, fair enough, right? So we should get a menu. So who's going to choose that menu, right? The thing is, so I mean, these are the questions I would ask. Like, who do you want to choose the menu? So we have to start off with that, and we take it from there. So yeah. So this is an issue. Let me chime in a little bit. So I'm trying to like look at all these sides here. I'm looking at all these sides because here's my fear. Here's my fear. There's a reason why I asked these two questions. Do we really want reparations? Do we really need reparations? And I'm talking to my brothers and sisters. The reason why I asked that question, all right, first, we need to understand what it means that we're asking for, the magnitude of it. Who's going to get reparations? We're still fighting about who's really black. Like, there's a debate among African Americans, like, this person's not black, that person's not black, and or this person's not black enough, or this is not the real black experience. And so we're talking about pretty much who would receive reparations. And maybe some people shouldn't receive reparations because they don't have a certain experience or tie. So here it is. Is it an experience, or is it being born, to being a part of an ancestry, right, of slaves? Well, what if people came here from who have an ancestry of slaves, but then immediately living in the North after the signing of the Declaration of Independence, were then part of a family that were never slaves since then, but still endured the beast of white supremacy, Jim Crow, and all these other things. So do we differentiate? So, well, okay, your great 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 grandfather was a slave, but your great 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 grandmother wasn't, and so you should get $10,000 less. Or you lived in this state, and this state wasn't really as racist as it might say Maryland wasn't as bad as South Carolina. How are we going to start measuring these things? And you are light skinned, and so you've been able to enjoy the privilege of colorism. I mean, people are thinking like this. I mean, we're treating each other like this, so we got some house cleaning to do. We want to think more about what that means, because a lot of these questions will be answered one way or another. And I mean, this is a bad joke. I'll probably get in trouble for this. Maybe we want somebody who is insensitive to these issues, because they'll probably just say, all right, black is just black right now, right? We don't care. And we just deal with y'all as, people of color or blacks, right? But, if you listen to the black conversations like I do, I mean, there's a lot of tit for tat going on here. I guess to a certain degree, in some cases, rightfully so. But let me get past that. It's getting too tricky for me in there. So after let's say we manage to decide who gets reparations. Let's say, all right, these groups, these people, maybe we use the Ancestry.com to just find things out. There's going to be a backlash from some groups. Somebody's going to get left out. So let's say we come to some conclusion. And then now, what do people get is the next question, right? What do people get? What do we get? Somebody said they were good with $20,000. So that's why I ask you, will you be good with $20,000? If somebody says, listen, every black person gets $20,000, is that it? No more talks about slavery. No more talks about systemic racism. You got your money. Leave us alone. Is the number 50,000? So think about that. I don't have an answer for that right now. I do have my view and my hunch, which I will share, but don't hold me to it because my thoughts are evolving on this matter. So these are some tough questions that people need to start figuring out. Now, one group, I'm trying to remember, it was what group was this? The Black? There was a group that came up with a number of $5 trillion to repair issues. A $5 million Marshall Plan for black people. Sorry, $5 trillion Marshall Plan. I'm trying to figure out which group gave this, which organization. This number came up right at the end of Obama's second term. Anybody remember that? Let me type this in here. $5 trillion Black Marshall Plan. Let's put this in here. Oh, the Urban League. So the Urban League said it should be $1 trillion. They didn't even say 5 trillion, 1 trillion. $1 trillion. Okay. Look at me, I'm thinking big, right? 5 trillion. We need some cash money, man. We need some capital, investment fund. 1 trillion enough. So let's see here. I think the population of African Americans is like 53 million, right? Let's make sure. Population of African Americans. This number increased to 42 million in 2010. I think it's at 53. Let's just make it 50 right now for my sake. Let's see here. All right, so I want to do an experiment here. Let's bring up my calculator. Let's do this here. I want to see how much money that is for each person. We got 1 million, 1 million, billion, $1 trillion. Let's see, divided by 50 million equals $20,000. So I was right. I did the numbers again. Ain't that something? I told you I've been doing my thing. So we're talking about basically giving every African American $20,000. This is from the Black Urban League. Imagine we did that. Now I know I can rock with $20,000, but it wouldn't be because it's just $20,000 because I'm doing other things in my life already. But there's other people who are even less fortunate than I am. Many of our folk, and they're caught in this quicksand that $20,000 is not sturdy enough to bring them out of, in my opinion. So I don't think that we should be thinking in dollar signs. So this is me actually showing my opinion on this matter, and you see why. If we think in terms of numbers, like what does that do for certain people? I mean, $20,000. Imagine you got $20,000. What's that gonna do for people? And especially in this marketplace, right now in New York City or anywhere. I mean, if you leave the country and you go to, I'm sorry to say, some third or fourth world country, maybe you'll live great for a couple of years. But in the United States, I'm sorry, $20,000. I hope they don't have to pay tax on that. It should be tax free. So $20,000, even if you gave them $20,000 and a house, they gotta pay for property tax. Now maybe if the house were free, we can get interesting. But still, they gotta find. What are you gonna do with 20? You can't even get an education with that. So this is how serious this matter is. The matter is so serious. The reason why I bring this up, because here's what we got to think about now. When I said, how do we really want reparations and do we really need reparations? What I wanted to do is call your attention to what we're talking about. We're talking about making a significant change in policy in our country via politics. And so many of the people who are jumping on this reparations train, a lot that I know, I don't want to generalize too much, but a lot that I know are many who don't vote. Okay? Some who don't vote. Because the movement for reparations in this manner, for those who are asking for a politician to make it happen for them, we're talking about electoral politics. We're talking about asking a politician to then convene a committee which will need an overwhelming filibuster-proof Congress, which means that we would have to vote like there is no tomorrow to get a filibuster-proof Congress over a number of terms, not just one term, to sustain the research needed to get to the final answers and numbers that we need for reparation. And we're talking about a multi-generational project here, which means we have to be in politics over and over past the terms of the people we select to represent us in a certain time period. Meaning we're going to have to even encourage our children, our youth and their children to carry that torch, which is nothing but the same kind of action we need to be enacting right now. And I think Obama hit it on the nail. So a lot of people came after Obama. He says, no, about the reparations thing. If they listen close to what Obama was saying and doing, he was basically saying, all right, this whole stopping and thinking about reparations and calling it this precise package, for him it would be a mistake. And obviously he has to watch his tongue because people go, oh, he don't want to support black people and everything like that. But what he was saying is that there are political measures that we can take right now, which he laid out that he wanted to do, and many of which he has done and implemented, but we don't even know the kind of programs we want. Or some have been set up in their embryonic stages, but we aren't aware of them. The same kind of steps that would need to be made if we just put the name reparations on the project. But in order for any of this to happen, regardless if it's called reparations or machinations, packulations, moneylations, whatever you want to call it, you still got to vote. You got to be active. You feel me? It's real, y'all. So, if we really want reparations, vote. Ha! I brought it back to voting. Seriously. Don't just wake up Sunday morning and feel the black political Holy Ghost. No. Get out there. There's a lot more to talk about with this. It's a very complicated issue. I've read a few articles and did a little looking, and and just off the back, I realized that a lot of us are setting ourselves up, and a lot of people are using this as a ploy to on the one hand, to actually give us something called reparations, which would never, as G.D. Stokes was saying here, never really address the issues that we need to be addressed, that are really causing the problem. I mean, for many people say, I heard many people saying, this is kind of real, forget reparations, just get out of my way. Just let me be me as a black person. Don't worry about my hair, about my locks. Don't worry about my skin. Don't worry about my blackness. As the amazing dramaturg Miss Walker here wrote in one of her plays, "What Does My Blackness Have to Do with You?" which I'm honored to have been the musical director for that. And it's like, hey, listen, just let me be me and let me do me. That's the reparations I need right now. So that's another way to think about it, right? But as that's getting money is going to be easier than getting white people to stay out of your way and to mind their business. and to leave our blackness alone. So that's not happening. So some people are saying be careful about asking for just some package or some temporary policy, or even engaging in this, like, discussion about something that's going to take years, and we're not even going to keep it up. And so, and then those who are asking, like, these really so-called leftist candidates to talk about this, it reminds me of, of the same rhetoric they said about Obama or somebody else. Oh, people just got a messiah complex, and they just voting for Obama because of X, Y, and Z. And here it is, you're voting for somebody who's just going to say, oh yeah, reparations. Like, they're going to get reparations in. Listen, ain't nobody getting no reparations in no time soon if there's not, first of all, overwhelming congressional support in the office, meaning that the Democrats have the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court is going to probably, being so conservative as it is now, say, oh, that's unconstitutional. That's going to lay a burden on white folks. And you know who said that already? One of the presidents, your boy, Andrew Johnson. That's one of the reasons why he didn't want to support reparations in the first place. The Freedmen Borough got canceled out. So the Reconstruction got shot down. And this is after the Civil War, my friends. After the Civil War. Like, after like nearly a million people dead over this slavery issue. And he's still like, nah. I mean, the KKK was born to stop that. And I'm not saying we should be afraid and not push for that. I'm just saying this is how difficult the issue is. And ultimately, if you really want reparations, keep pushing for it. And if you really think we need it, keep pushing for it. But why don't you focus on the actual politics and consistent political acts and involvement that gets us there all the same, whether or not it's called reparations, whether or not it's packaged. One of the things that blinded us is people were asking, what did Obama do for black people? No, but it had to say just for black people, not realizing that the policies he enacted were helping African Americans overwhelmingly. And white racists would say, well, his policies were helping African Americans disproportionately. You say potato, I say potato. And that was right in front of our face. Don't you know your boy had started, he was enforcing the Fair Housing Act? One of the prime policies that Lyndon Johnson got pushed because it was one of King's, babies too, in a sense. Housing for, black and brown people. All sorts of kinds of, I can go into this stuff. Yeah, that was for African Americans. The Fair Sentencing Act, disproportionate arrest of black and brown people. Yeah, starting the first African American White House school initiative. Yes, for African Americans. Signing off on the $1.2 billion reparations farmers bill for black people, for black farmers. Yes. Do we know what these things are? No, we only know after Trump writes them off. So a lot of reparation stuff, the seeds of these things, which were already planted, he started watering. Do we know? No. So we got some work to do, y'all. We got some work to do. This is not to discourage. This is to encourage. So I got a 10-minute countdown right now. So listen, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I really appreciate this. So listen, if you want to support this cause, just hit up patreon.com, patreon.com/Kassan Henry, as it's spelled on these social media platforms. Support this cause there, or continuing to step up and speak out for those in need. Because when you make this society a better place, you make this place better for me. And so thank you. I appreciate you as well. Thank you very much, Miss Walker Rice. And thank you very much, GD Stokes, for chiming in, and everybody else out here. Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So anyway, I just wanted y'all to be up on that. You're going to be hearing reparations. And I guess I'll say this last thing too. I mean, I'm probably a little too practical or pragmatic for most people's taste. But I'm not really interested in somebody saying, they're into reparations or not. Like really, ultimately, it's the kind of like the political position they're taking for certain matters. And I'm looking and I'm rounding things off because politics involve millions and millions of people. And the book I keep mentioning to y'all, Brown is the New White. It does good to remind me that I'm in a playing field with a lot of people who are pushing in the same direction, but have ultimately different ends that they're trying to reach, and I have to negotiate with them as well. And sometimes I'm going to see how they I'm going to see clearly that they don't understand the black issue in the way that I think they should. But I got to work with them to a certain degree, and so a certain politician is going to be responding differently. It's tough. It's a performance, and it's very tough for people to get it right because it's hard. You have African Americans. You have different groups among African Americans. You have Latino Americans. You have different groups among the Latino Americans, and you have white Americans. You have different groups on the left. The progressives and the new left, and this and the third. It's just a lot of stuff happening, y'all. So we gotta broaden our field of awareness and political awareness. All right, and to keep our eyes on that grander prize, bro and sisters. All right, yo, I'm out. I'll catch y'all soon. Political Soul Food. We trying to do this, make this place a little better every day, one conversation at a time. G, peace and love. Y'all take it easy. We out. All right, Facebook, thanks for chiming in. I'll see y'all soon. Stay up, stay up, stay up, stay on the battlefield.